Alright, y'all. This is gonna be a re-upload of the Lil Buckss joint that I put out like last month, I think. It's gonna be my third time trying to upload it to YouTube. The first time it got age restricted because of one of the scenes in there, and now I had to take like probably like 15 minutes worth of music out of this joint. So if you've seen this before, you can watch it again. If not, this is for the people that's never seen this video before. With that being said, here go the story of Lil Buckss.
Yeah, I feel bad, Lil got scorcher. Duka got through in the water. Chill. Hey, bro, I'm gonna write to the joint now because y'all drone on me.
And another night, another shooting. It's almost becoming normal, unfortunately, in the city of Philadelphia.
You also got to focus on two glaring problems. First, why young people are beefing often on social media, and the easy, seemingly unending pipeline of firearms flowing into our city.
Violence is currency. So you want to get your currency up, the social capital in the community. Everybody has guns. There's more than you think here.
And only hours apart, yet another triple shooting erupted. The scene 59th and Lansdowne, where two gunmen opened fire targeting a high school graduation party.
Philly has always been a violent place to live. Younger people might not realize this, but Philly has been one of the most homicidal cities in the country for decades. It's just going from fist fights early on to knife fights in the 50s and the 60s. And then when guns came into play in the mid to late 70s, it's just gotten worse and worse until you end up with a situation like we have here in the city present day. It's the late 1960s. College students across the country are protesting the Vietnam War. Martin Luther King Jr. is assassinated. Astronaut Neil Armstrong becomes the first human to walk the moon. In Philadelphia, Frank Rizzo is police commissioner. And a 30-something woman attends a black nationalist conference that sets into motion one of the city's most impactful anti-violence organizations of the next few decades. The House of Umoja in West Philadelphia was created by Falaka Fatah after she and her husband David discovered one of their 6 sons was a gang member. What started as an effort to save their child's life inadvertently turned into a program that would change the lives of thousands of Philadelphia boys. I found out there were 2 gangs who would have considered it a trophy to kill my son, said Fatah, who was known as Queen Mother Falaka Fatah, after continental African tradition. So I was trying to save him, not save the world, she said.
In 1969, we started to get large numbers of telephone calls asking us why it was that brothers were killing each other in the street. The media was making a great deal of noise about the situation with the gangs. And I imagine the reason they were calling the House of Umoja was because we were talking about a philosophy of brotherhood. And certainly people killing each other had nothing to do with brotherhood. Also, they were boxed in geographically. By boxed in, I mean that where they were situated, they could live their whole teenage life inside of a box, which was Broad Street. They could not go below Broad Street because of 13th Street gang. They could not go above 20th Street because of 20th Street gang. They could not go across from Washington Avenue because of the situation with the Italians. And if they ventured into the Rittenhouse area, which is a very exclusive section of the city, they would be harassed by the police. And so they were actually in a geographical box.
So around 1970, courts started sentencing boys to spend time at the West Philly Sanctum, Fatah said. 2 years later, the group began to receive government funding. Over 4 decades as a residential treatment home with an anti-violence program, Umoja worked with 3,000 boys. It garnered the praise of 2 sitting presidents and constructed a boys' town of more than 20 properties. One of his most significant feats was the Imani Peace Pact, a ceasefire agreement signed by scores of gang members who pledged no gang war in '74. Homicides dropped from a decade high of nearly 450 that year to a decade low of 320 just 3 years later. 4.5 decades after the truce, Philadelphia is staring down the barrel of close to 500 annual homicides. A 1972 New York Times report highlighted the city as one of 4 major metros where gang activity was on the ups. Since then, the House of Emoji's influence has decreased significantly to the point where government funding is non-existent today. The House of Emoji, left to their own devices and operating on a shoestring budget, didn't stand a chance to the rampant poverty, rage, and despair that creates and fuels the gang environment. Throughout the late 70s, 80s, and 90s, guns came into play and made these gang wars much deadlier. Fast forward to today, and social media and drill music's influence has been almost impenetrable.
There's no get old. You got 9mm, I got big choppers. We them young that's crank. I'm so high, my favorite op inside the grave.
Buckss is probably the youngest rapper I've covered on this channel, so I can't be too hard or critical of him. But his story is one of devastation and trauma, and in some of the most important years of a young man's life.
Introduce yourself to the people.
Lil Buckss, man. stvphilly, S.T.V from college, man. Google my link. Leave my link in my bio and shit. We just dropped with some Santana and shit. 20K in the day.
Think he wavy, hit his crown, throw a flame at his scalp. Whip it work up in the crib while you stayed in the house. Whip it work up in the crib while you stayed in the house.
Just take him back a little bit. Talk to him about how was it for like you, like your real youth in Philly, because you still young. But talk about like when you was really coming up. How was it for you?
Man, when I was coming up, man, it was hard, man. It wasn't easy, man. A lot of shit, man. Lost a couple of homies to this shit. A lot of shit, man. It was grinding, man. Trying to get to it.
Going back to his childhood, Buckss played football for the Parkside Saints and moved to West Philly when he was 7. In some of the most cliche set of circumstances, his father was arrested when he was 11 and left him to look to other men in the neighborhood for guidance. 11-year-olds aren't the best at looking for role models most of the time, and he turned to the streets for guidance. Now, the streets can give you knowledge and street smarts, but if you're not careful, you could become fully entrenched and sucked into a life that may not be built for you. 60th and Lansdowne and 64th and Callow Hill are a pair of blocks in West Philly that have always had connections, and in 2019 you started to hear some members refer to it as O to the 4.
They said they didn't want smoke when we said to they block where the f was they at. This shit from the O to the 4. You can catch me on the 4 by the stool, you can catch me on the O with them shooters on go though.
Yes, from the 4, they dissing my block. Stop.
Hey man, this shit from the O to the 4.
Hey Buckss, this shit from the 4 to the O. I don't know why all these keep dissing the 4. Dead, don't lack again.
Mainly rappers Lil Buckss and One Mirror. They got big with the song We Spinnin' Too. That song actually got a remix from Sim Santana, who was on fire at the time, and it boosted Buckss and Mirror's profile.
Go full, but you know I'm really with that. No, with that shit, niggas stop acting like I won't pull up with the niggas.
O to the 4 mainly beats with a set called 616, which is 61st and Jefferson and 64th and Lansdowne. It's almost impossible to trace the origins of this beef to the beginning, but one name you'll hear a lot is Bro Bro.
My buddy's little just rappers, and I heard you caught you was a kid flipping. And Bro died 3 years ago, so how you niggas fixing?
Yeah, I walked in the 4 with a Draco. You don't wanna be like Bro, tell him lay low. For that she getting wet, now she gotta go up.
Buckss over the last few years have lost numerous friends to gun violence. On one hand, losing friends at a young age and not having your father around has all the makings for a young man heading towards a lifestyle of anger and destruction, and one he might regret. On the other, it can make you stronger in the sense that he can channel the loss and pain into something constructive, mainly his music. Sondrea Williams was one of the 3 teens hit in a hail of at least 22 bullets that came from 2 guns. A 17-year-old male friend and a 15-year-old boy were both shot in the leg and were in stable condition. Sondrea, called Bro by her friends, had left the neighborhood, presumably to get away from the drama, was back briefly to visit family and friends when two people emerged from the alley and began firing indiscriminately at the crowd of about 20 teens standing and talking with each other on the corner.
Go. Chopper 6 over the scene. Someone opened fire, missed their intended target, and hit two teenagers. A 17-year-old girl has been killed. A 16-year-old boy is now in the hospital, a Penn Presbyterian. We do not know that individual's condition. This happened 25 minutes ago, perhaps even a little less, and we don't know if the shooter is in custody. But a tragic situation tonight in West Philadelphia.
We found the guy, right? Okay. Well, I just started work, and I got to stand in the rain. Have a good day, sir. Have a good day.
Another one of Buck's friends he would lose what happened 2 years later when fellow rapper and friend D4M Sciano was shot and killed on the 1400 block of 61st Street. Being such a small neighborhood, Sciano ended up in enemy territory and was caught slipping. The references and disses to this fallen O-to-the-4/D4M member were numerous and heavy. Get back for Ski was almost immediate, as the very next day, a 616 member was shot and killed on 63rd and Nassau. According to police, 3 people were shot on the 6100 block of Nassau Road on Sunday, July 5th, 2020. At 8:20 p.m., Philadelphia police responded to the scene and located Angelo Walker suffering from a gun wound. Police placed him in their patrol vehicle and rushed him to Lincoln Hospital. Despite efforts by the hospital staff to save his life, Angelo died that night.
Killed over the weekend was a 15-year-old. His name, Angelo Walker. He played football at Frankfort High.
Holiday weekend has not only left a family grieving, but an entire football team. His coach tells me he had a promising future that was cut short. Bill Seitzma tells us Angelo Walker was known as Ruski. At least that's what his teammates would call him at Frankfort High School. Coach Bill says the 15-year-old running back and defensive back was known to joke around.
As a coach, you want to keep your players safe. You work hard to keep your players safe. I do everything in my power to keep my players safe, and it still happens.
Another name Buckss mentions a lot is one of his fallen members, Lil Buckss, seen sitting here with Buckss for this interview. Buckss had appeared in many of O-to-the-4's videos and even had aspirations to enter the rap game himself. But those dreams wouldn't come to fruition, because on December 27th, 2020, Sabir Buckss Mack and Frank Tooley Smith, one of Buck's big bros, not his blood brother, were in a car when at about 6:40 p.m. police found the two inside a white Chrysler on South 51st Street near the King Sessing Recreation Center. 21-year-old Tooley and 15-year-old Buckss were transported by the responding officers to Penn Presbyterian Medical Center. Lil Mir, since a very young age, decided rap was going to be his way out.
That shit been bad, you heard me? That shit been bad. If you know, that shit been bad though. Where's the all my yo? That shit been bad. That's all I can say.
Where I'm from. So you say you from, 64th Street, y'all call that O-to-the-4. I mean, explain that for the people who ain't...
It's 60th and Lansdowne, 64th and Copper.
All right, okay.
I just know it's a war zone in the whole west side. That's all I'm going to say is a war zone. Every block in West Philadelphia.
So your dad wasn't around or nothing like that?
Like, yeah, he was working all the time. It's like I got closer to him like when I got older.
Growing up, he resided on North 76th Street in Overbrook Park. Without his father's presence in his life, Mir too turned to the streets for guidance and had dropped out before he could finish high school. Mir, like every other fallen member I've talked about, can be seen in music videos with Buckss, suggesting they were close. On Thursday, March 11th, 2021, at around 3 p.m., 4 people were shot on the 1400 block of North 76th Street. Tamir Brown had been shot multiple times. Unfortunately, Tamir died from his wounds that evening. This incident was covered more in my Amin Hurst video. Amin was later arrested and charged in this case, but is innocent until proven guilty.
Person is dead, 3 others fighting for their lives after a shooting in Overbrook Park. It happened in the 1400 block of North 76th Street. Police say a 24-year-old was killed, a 30-year-old, 19-year-old, and 16-year-old critically injured. Police Commissioner Daniel Outlaw says the victims had already been driven to the hospital before officers arrived on scene. One person is
Lil 60 was another of Buck's friends and collaborators.
It's Lil 60. It's Lil 60. It's Lil 60. 60. You know I get busy. With my black boots and my black dick. Black boots on and my black dick.
A lot of people were starting to connect with Lil 60's music, and fans across the city were devastated at the news of his passing. Lil 60's, which was caught on video, perfectly displays the callous disregard for human life being expressed right now in this city. The video shared by police shows a 23-year-old victim and his 3-year-old son getting into a black Nissan on the 1600 block of North 55th Street just after 2 p.m.
It happened around 2:20 p.m. on Saturday the 19th. Adult male walking up with his young son approached a dark-colored Nissan vehicle up the street. You'll see it zoom in a little bit. And as the juvenile male and the adult male were getting into the passenger side, that white SUV rolls down the street. It stops just past the black Nissan. 2 males are going to jump out of that white SUV on either side of the car and immediately begin to shoot. So
Glock fresh out the box, I add the switches automatic.
Y'all say Glocks fresh out the box, but y'all still play with Gen 3s. Man, lay low fool. Young and should've ducked. Get it, can't but switches all a op. He shot running, then he tripped. You ain't fast enough.
Blocks, y'all been those, hoping I catch 1 mil on 6-4. Got a 4-4 dance on the block, let it go. No.
Lil Buckss is a talented rapper. His energy and aggression shows a ton of potential. When you lose numerous friends and family to gun violence before your brain has a chance to properly develop emotionally, the outcomes can be predictable. If I could give Lil Buckss any advice, it would be to take that rap money and get as far away from the city as possible. I'm hoping he has people around him telling him the same thing. Move out to the sticks and come back to shoot your music in the hood, or bring your camp where you are and shoot the videos there. The public wouldn't know any difference. And your ops' opinions are the last ones that should matter. So when you hear that chatter of Buckss is never in the hood and he's scared to come back and all that, who cares? Your health and wealth are intact, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. When everyone around you on both sides of the war are losing their life and you've got innocent children getting shot, that should be all the warning you need that nothing but trouble lies ahead. I personally listen to all kinds of rap music, including drill rap. My playlist has artists of all shapes and sizes, but I'm conflicted because on one hand, seeing what's rapped about play out right in front of you on the news every night, I feel like I'm contributing to the problem in a sense by supporting these artists. On the other hand, I listen for the skill and talent that I know might get these brothers out the hood one day. Meek Mill tweeted, "I'll get all the main big artists in Philly a deal if they put them bodies behind them. Got some hot young boys in my city, but they all beefing." There was a lot of meaning behind that tweet, and I speculate he was talking to a few specific people. But that applies here to people like Buckss, because with his buzz and attention, I'm sure labels are paying attention.
not deal with our youth, then we will not have a future as a people. If you talk to them about a black boys' town, they don't seem to understand that we're talking about the same kind of boys' town that exists in Italy. They know very well about Father Flanagan's boys' town, but when you talk about building the first inner city boys' town for black youth, it doesn't seem to invoke the same kind of response.